capturing the attention of the world's media for the first time will be Mauricio Pochettino. Last week we said that he was... last week he said that he was going to take over a club that were the best over the course of the last 15 years in this country. You said that if you want a whiff of success, go to Harrods, because he will give you a whiff of success, but no substantial success. What does he have to do to give Chelsea substantial success this year?
Win something. The challenge that he's got is he's picking up a side. It's a good challenge. It's a challenge where ultimately I think they've reached the bottom now, and you can only bounce when you've reached the bottom. I think their season last year went from bad to worse for a variety of reasons, from some of the decisions that were made, through to the culture inside the football club, through to the learning curve of certain serious and significant individuals in the club, through to their failure to address the fact they took a punt on Graham Potter and then they didn't replace him with anyone of any substance to get them to finish the season on a higher level, with due respect to Frank Lampard. Now, they've gone after Pochettino. They've got Pochettino. Pochettino is going to raise the bar. He's going to raise the level. We're not going to see this malaise that existed last year, which the Chelsea players have become psychological cheats, where they can get away with just turning up for Chelsea rather than recognising the fact that they're playing for a club that arguably, over the last 20 years, has been one of the most successful clubs in the history of British sport. And we know how that was created. It was created by Abramovich's money. We know what the outcome of that was. And we know that this is likely to come round again, because Todd Boehly has shown a level of spend that, albeit in inflation terms, is probably commensurate to what Abramovich spent in his first season or so. It still is quite jarring expenditure. He's got a guy in there that we know is a decent manager, and there's never been a proclamation for me that Mauricio Pochettino is not a good manager. People like to mischaracterise the observation that the difference between being a very good manager and a winner is a slight moment in time or an alchemy or a gene that some people have and some people do not. He will get Chelsea competing this season, but there is a difference between the Chelsea of today and the Chelsea of previous incarnations, where winners have come in, whether it be Ancelotti or whether it be whoever else, Mourinho in the first instance, when Ranieri was bundled out the door relatively quickly into Abramovich's ownership, and on we go. And they didn't muck about. They didn't muck about with Felipe Scolari when he came in and he couldn't cut the mustard out the door he went.
Oh, very ruthless.
And this instance, Pochettino is going to give an American owner. They're going to be able to work with him because he's a relatively affable and amiable fella.
Yeah.
So he's going to bring that spirit of relationship that clearly wasn't there with Tuchel. There was a clear disconnect in Tuchel's relationship with Boehly. Respect was at the centre of it, and I don't think Tuchel showed...
Arguably, was Potter too subservient?
I don't think Potter was ready for the job. And I think Potter wasn't ready for the job in a huge period of Chelsea's history where they were coming out of a sanctioned change of ownership environment, change of culture. Out the door goes the established names. Peter Cech, Marina went as well. Bruce Buck goes. In comes a new regime, new mentality, new culture. Wants to maintain the status quo in terms of being successful, but still has a different feel and look about it. You've got a respect issue between the owner and the manager, and that then breaks down. You bring in a new guy that looks on paper like somebody that can really manage good players and build a good ethic inside a football club, but does it with a lower level of footballer, with a club that has a lower level of expectation. You take that punt, you make that mistake, you don't change it. Now, Pochettino's here, and Pochettino will get you, like I said, he will get you a whiff of success. And the analogy I made the other day, if you want a whiff of something, go to the perfume counter at Harrods. If you want to win something, I'm not sure something of real significance like re-establishing Chelsea's claim on the Premier League or putting them in ability to win.
Well, that's going to take time, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and I'm not sure that with Manchester City, and I think again the ascension of United, I think we'll see a re-emergence of Liverpool. I think Newcastle are going to get better and better and better, and all of these mean that the difference for me between being able to get Chelsea back to the top of the pile is going to be in that dugout. And I don't think if you put Pochettino...
It's not just in a dugout, though, is it? I mean, it's actually on the playing surface. You need to have good players. They've got 9 departures. The team he's taking over is very different to the one in last season.
The dugout drives that.
It might do.
The dugout will drive that. The dugout will drive like we discussed Pep Guardiola, the inexhaustibility of his mentality of changing players the way that he wants them to play.
But he's also got good players. Chelsea have lost a lot of experience.
And fine, and we will assume that Pochettino is going to be given a reasonable, fair shake to be able to shape a squad commensurate with competing with the enemy on the other side of the equation, which might be Manchester United, it might be Manchester City, most certainly will be Manchester City. So he'll be given the like-for-like tools. The difference will be in recruitment selection, what he does with them, and what he adds. And that's where I look at Pochettino and go, would I put you, if I was sat in a situation where I could have my utopian world, and I also had a bit of adversity mixed in there, would I put you in the same breath as Pochettino, as Klopp, as Guardiola? And my answer would be probably no. So that means to me, how are you going to eclipse them? How are you going to be the one that makes Chelsea win leagues again? If that's the brief that he's been given, and if that's the question I'm answering.
Well, okay, and listen, I can see that he is definitely an upgrade, and whether or not, as you believe, he's going to be the man to restore the success. I think the first thing they've got to do is sort the squad out, because they've let 9 go. They've got a midfield quartet at the moment, which I've got to admit is a little bit worrying. Gallagher, Enzo Fernandez, Andre Santos, and Chikani Chukwuemeka. 2 young players in there. 1 player who they've been reported to might be selling, and of course their world record signing. They've got 13 forwards and wingers in the squad. 2 at least, or 3 of them they want to get rid of.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of young players in that squad as well. And I look at their defence and I'm thinking, I'm looking at the goalkeeping situation. I'm thinking it's not where I'd want it to be in terms of the level of that squad. It's not. I mean, there's some good players in there, but it's not a great squad. It's not the kind of squad that won the Champions League 2 years ago.
No, granted, but notwithstanding that, you'll build from that, won't you?
You'd hope so, but they spent a lot of money to get. Looking at the squad, bearing in mind the money they've spent, and looking at that squad, I'm thinking to myself,
there might have to be some blunt conversations.
How has that happened?
I mean, it's happened because it happened, and some people will say it's because the owner was too busy. Some people might say it's because the new manager that came in wasn't strong enough to express his views and didn't have the gravitas and the cachet to sit there as an elite manager saying, "That's lovely, Chairman, but not for me, thank you," sort of conversation that established managers might be able to have a little bit more of. And there might be a little bit of bloodletting that needs to go on. There might be a little bit of, look, owner, chairman, I'm really sorry, but we've got a pup on our hands here, and we need to perhaps cut our cloth accordingly, maybe move a few of these players out. The ones that you've bought and you've paid top-end money for aren't going to get you where you need to go. And those conversations will be had over a period of time, because right now what you've got is a relationship based upon, you've got a balance of power in the relationship, which Pochettino probably has, because he's been sought after by Chelsea. He didn't necessarily seek Chelsea. Chelsea sought him. But now he's in the job. Now he's got a situation where what he has asked for, and it must have been significant, because he's not short of a bob or two. He won't be short of an opportunity or two, Pochettino. And the Chelsea opportunity comes along, and it's something, clearly there's an ailment, there's a need to fix it. So his power in the conversation with Bowley, within reason, given the fact that Bowley's the money, would have been quite significant. So Pochettino will be the person that says to the owner, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is the building blocks I've got, this is how I'm going to change the direction of travel, this is what the outcomes are likely to be, and this is the timelines behind it, right? And for that, I need to cut this, I need to bring this, I need to change this, I need to finesse that. And you'll start to see that happen. And if you're a really good, effective leader, you can do these things at pace. You can make changes at pace. You can make people come with you at pace. The ineffective ones will go, well, as a manager, I need time. The top draw guys can affect outcomes relatively quickly, in the same way that Pep Guardiola, of course, he was building off a better platform, but he came in and changed the way Manchester City played.
Yeah, well, I go back to the Jurgen Klopp situation in 2015 when he took over. The first game away at Tottenham Hotspur, they drew 0-0 that game, but they played in a completely different way.
Yeah.
They played with a higher energy and press.
But it did take them 2 or 3 years to get themselves together.
But they had to change the personnel, and he was coming from a different base from Pep Guardiola in that circumstance as well. But he did affect change immediately.
But the financial model at Chelsea is different.
It is.
Because if Pochettino is now their champion and has got their ear, he will be able to get them on point quicker about the economic decisions they may have to make, which the Henrys of the world didn't want to make, because Liverpool is run on a very different premise than Chelsea.
Azpilicueta left yesterday as well. So actually, with the loans and the contracts coming to an end, it's probably 11 departures from last year's squad. He broke down in tears after confirming he would be departing the club on a free transfer, going to Atletico Madrid. This is despite really having a year on his contract. They've ripped that up and said you can go. He's been a key figure for the club over the last decade. The this season, win 13 trophies, including 2 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups, 2 Europa League titles and the Champions League. A brilliant servant to that football club. Signed for £7 million plus add-ons. He did get a little bit upset during his video yesterday. Are we going to hear a little bit of it? Do you want to hear a little? No, you don't want to hear. He doesn't want to hear.
No.
The producer doesn't.
Do you want to hear it?
No.
We need Kleenexes ready. Is it a Hassan Hoodle moment?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.